Now, not too long ago, I made a video about this one. This is the Creative X-Fi Surround 5.1. Now, in my conclusion back then, I said something like, is the Creative Surround X-Fi 5.1 any good? Well, it gets the job done. That's the main theme of this sound card. It just gets the job done. That's not too big of a compliment because, well, when I found this one, its bigger brother, I just had to find out how good this one is. Well, hello there everyone and welcome to a new video over here on Anton's hardware channel. Now, I haven't been making too much content lately, but that's all because of my day job, which is taking up a lot of time and energy. But I finally found some energy and I finally had some time. And here it is, a new video. And today we're going to talk about yet another X-Fi card and yet another creative card. And this time it's the Soundblaster X-Fi HD. Well, despite there being X-Fi in it and it being an USB sound card, there aren't any similarities with this one. This is the Surround 5.1. There are absolutely no, well, there are some similarities, but nothing really. You can also confuse the name because it has HD in it with this one. This is the Titanium HD, but also there are no similarities with that sound card. So let's take a closer look at the Creative Soundblaster X-Fi HD. On the outside, you will find that it's an external sound card, like every other. There's a small dial that directly controls the volume in Windows. On the front you will also find two 1/4-inch jack plugs, one for the microphone input and one for the headset output. I found that the volume dial is just a bit too tiny and thus a bit too fiddly to handle, especially if you compare to the older X-Fi Surround 5.1 Pro, which is a huge volume knob. On the back there are a bunch of connection possibilities. Two opticals, where one is line in and the other one is line out. There are also 4 tulip plugs. 2 are the regular line outs for the stereo output. And this is where things get interesting. A phono input with grounding. Now, for all you youngsters out there, a phono is a record player. Nowadays only the die-hard audiophiles and hipsters and, well, my uncle have them. And the X-Fi HD makes it possible to attach the record player directly to your PC. Inside you will find a Creative CA0189, a lower end DSP that Creative has on offer. The CA0189 is, according to Creative themselves, a highly integrated, high-performance system on a chip designed specifically for a range of lower-end products. The CA0189 is essentially a RISC processor, which is able to handle sound at 48, 96 and 192 kHz and does this at 24 bits. But due to the limitations of USB in the beginning of the USB audio age, this was limited at 96 kHz. More interestingly, you will also find the AK4396, an advanced multi-bit 192 kHz 24 bits digital to analog converter. It is a high-performance digital to analog converter aimed at the higher end by providing compatibility with DVD audio and super audio CDs. It was widely used a decade ago and is still an excellent digital to analog converter. For the analog part, there's the CS5351 analog to digital converter from Cirrus Logic. This is also a 24 bits and it's capable of 192 kHz, but again limited to 96 kHz. This analog to digital converter isn't top of the line, but it still gets the job done. Next there are the op amps, which aren't swappable. In the X-Fi HD there are 5 ST Microelectronics 33078 op amps, which according to Creative is a high quality headphone amp that supports studio quality headphones, meaning that they can go up to 330 ohms. But according to ST Microelectronics, it's a low noise dual operational amplifier. So in the end it's just a op amp that's used by a lot of other competitors. When doing the listening sessions, I found that the op-amps can drive a 250 ohm biodynamic DT770 Pro, but when cranking up the volume, the sounds did get a bit distorted. So the claim of the being able to drive 330 ohms is a bold one. Before I start to explain what RIA equalization means, I need to explain how a record works. You have a record which has a groove, and you put the needle in, and the needle, well, swings along all those grooves in there. If you have something like treble, the extension of the way the needle moves isn't going to be that big or large or whatever. If you have basses, the grooves need to be a lot bigger because it needs to have more power. But if you have bigger grooves, you cannot have a lot of grooves on a record, and so the recording time will be limited or smaller than you have today. So what they decided upon was, well, what if we reduce the basses, increase the trebles? We can have a lot more grooves and have more record time, or time on a record, than, well, it would be normally possible. When you play back a record from those days with RIA equalization on it, the basses will be increased and the trebles will be decreased. In the end, everything will be exactly the same flat line and all the frequencies will be the same. So if you plug a record player or a phonograph or whatever into your regular line-in on your stereo set and try to record it from there, you will not have this RIA equalization, and your recordings will sound horrible because there won't be any bass and there will be a lot of treble. Now that's where this one comes into play, the Soundblaster X-Fi HD. This one does have the RIA equalization, and so the recordings will sound a lot better. Now I can almost hear you say, well, Anton, let's hear the difference then. Let's hear what the RIA equalization really means and what does it sound like. I don't have a record player, so I'm sorry, I just cannot let you hear the difference. But trust me, there is a difference. And this is what the driver interface looks like. Well, as you can see, it's all in Dutch, despite my system being completely in English, UK English, and I installed the drivers from with the English settings on the website, on the English version of the website. Somehow the Creative driver still managed to install the Dutch version of the drivers. Doesn't really matter. Let's look over it one by one. Over here you have your speaker settings, your EAX settings, your SBX Pro Studio, where you can set up all things like surround, crystallizer, bass, dialogue plus, all those kind of things. Your graphic equalizer, your mixer, which is something interesting here. So is your here is your, I'm already starting to sound Dutch. Here's your phono in and your digital input-output. But thankfully you have the standard audio control panel, which thankfully is in English. Again, you have your SPDIF out, your restore defaults, SBX Pro, EEX, your speakers, and of course your device information. So what about those listening sessions? Well, I listened to this external sound card for, well, a couple of hours, and I found it to be, well, rather reasonable. It isn't the best I've ever heard. It isn't the worst I've ever heard. It gets the job done a bit more than that even. The highs were nice and pleasant. The middles are a bit overpowered, but that's with all Creative sound cards. The bass was sometimes a bit lacking. But that's all with the normal 32 ohms headset, another biodynamic that I have. When using, as I said before, the 250 ohm headset, well, there was a lot of distortion going on, so the claim just isn't right. It cannot handle anything up from 32 ohms. And these are the results that Rightmark Audio Analyzer gave. You can see a lot of pores and averages on there, but you can also see a very good, and that's the frequency response. Now, if you look at the graph, you can see why. I mean, it's a nice flat line with the cutoff way past 40 kilohertz. And that's very nice to see. Now, the reason why the results aren't that good, I mean with pours and averages, is all because it's an external sound card that isn't grounded itself. I mean, it's bound to introduce a lot of stereo crosstalk, it's bound to introduce a lot of harmonic distortion and a lot of noise. So, although I thought that the results would be a lot better, I'm still not surprised. Now, the real unique selling point of this external sound card, of course, is the way that you can digitize your complete record collection with the rear equalization turned on and the built-in preamplifier that it has. It isn't so much of an upgrade for your current system or your current onboard audio. It's a bit better, but it isn't enough to warrant such a cost. It is a nice piece of equipment, and when I get my hands on a record player that will to digitize my record collection, I don't have any, I will definitely make a video about it and try to explain how this thing works a bit further. So, with this ending, I would like to thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and like to see you in the next one. See you then, bye bye!